I feel a little bit dangerous, to be honest. And at the same time, what I have realized was like there is no like traffic lights for the pedestrians. So if you want to walk across the road,
Nah, ini mungkin bisa menjadi masukan untuk pemerintah Malaysia gitu. Assalamualaikum, Elsa di sini. Hai guys, hai semua. Halo para penduduk bumi yang sedang menonton video ini. Gimana kabar teman-teman semua? Semoga sehat selalu, semoga bahagia selalu, dan semoga hari-harinya selalu good day. Selamat datang di channel YouTube Elsa Widianti Putri. Hari ini aku akan reaction dari channel Sojep. Aku nggak tahu dia adalah turis atau wisatawan atau anggota atau orang Malaysia, tapi di sini dia berbagi cerita dia tentang Malaysia. Hal apa sajakah itu, nanti kita tonton seperti apa videonya. Tapi sebelum dimulai video reaksinya, seperti biasa aku mau ajakin teman-teman semua dulu untuk subscribe channel ini dan aktifkan lonceng notifikasinya supaya tidak ketinggalan updatean terbaru dari channel ini. Dan bagi teman-teman yang mau request, bisa bangga DM di Instagram aku di @elsawidiantiputri. Yaudah, tanpa berlama-lama, tanpa membuang masa, jomlah kita mulai video reaksinya. Are you ready? Let's go.
well, in this video, I would like to talk about 10 things I have realized about being in Malaysia and 10 culture shocks that I have experienced here in Malaysia. Yeah, I came to Malaysia around November 2021, and it's been like 9 to 10 months since I came here, and I know a little bit more about Malaysia, and I think I have realized so many things, so I would like to share in this video. So let's go. So the first thing I want to talk about is the QR code menu in Malaysia in restaurants. If you go to a restaurant in Malaysia, like Mama or like Chinese hawker shop,
fry it a bit until it's fragrant.
almost everywhere has like a QR code menu at the restaurant, and if you want to order it, you just scan the QR code and you can, you know, order something with your phone. And this is not very common in Japan, to be honest. I haven't really seen like restaurants that have the QR code system, like QR.
Oke, jadi dia merasa cukup terkejut karena di Malaysia itu di restoran manapun itu, termasuk restoran kedai mama, itu semuanya memakai QR kayak scan gitu. Hal yang pertama membuat dia lumayan terkejut gitu. Oke, kita lanjut.
And I think it's very useful, and I really like it, and I think it's very efficient.
Dia suka
and I
kayak
really
lebih efektif,
admire the
efisien
technology
gitu.
usage here. Yeah, if you think like Japan is like a technologically advanced country, I think some part are not, and I will be like mentioning a lot about like technology side of Malaysia. So even though the QR code menu is very useful, I personally like to see the paper menu, to be honest. It's just my preference.
I get a nice rice cooker.
I think it's easier for me to see everything with the paper menu, and I can
Jadi menunya
like
juga
see
pakai
what I
QR
want to
card
eat,
gitu,
like
guys.
rather than clicking the categories of the food. So I just personally prefer like paper menu, but I think a QR code menu is very useful and very smart, I would say. So the next thing I want to talk about is Grab. It's like another technology side of culture shock I had in Malaysia. And for those of you who don't know about Grab, it's like a share ride service like Uber if you live in the United States or Europe. And it's very convenient. Like you can book a car by using an app on your phone, then the car will come and you can see the location of the car, and the car will take you to the destination. And I would say it's very cheap and very affordable compared to Japanese taxi. And it would be like 2 or 3 or even 4 or 5 times more like cheaper than using Japanese taxi.
Jadi Grab di Malaysia itu jauh lebih murah dibandingkan dengan taksi yang ada di Jepun katanya, guys.
My God,
Lebih berkali-kali lipat lebih murah.
Paying £8 for egg fried rice. Hiya.
And when I say those kind of things, you might be thinking I don't know anything about technology, but the fact is Japan has no such thing like share ride service. So what you have to do in Japan is that you have to search like taxi companies on the website, and you have to select the company from like a lot of the
sulit kalau
companies,
di Jepang tuh
and you
kayak
call them and you
susah
have to
gitu.
see if the car is available or not, or
Kalau
like the driver is there or not. And if the driver is not there, not available, you have to call another company and you have to wait for like 20 to 30 minutes for the car to come. Then you can finally go to your destination. And the problem is that they don't use the GPS, so you don't really know the location of the car unless you use the Google Map or anything. For them to measure the price of the taxi, like they usually use like physical measures, so they have to press the start button physically and stop the button physically.
Kalau di Malaysia kata dia guys, itu lebih mudah karena menggunakan aplikasi. Nah kalau di Jepun itu kita tuh harus cari di internet dulu nomor perusahaan, baru kita bisa telepon, dan kita harus menunggu lama untuk menunggu taksi itu, dan taksi itu tidak menggunakan GPS gitu. Kalau di Malaysia taksi supirnya itu pakai GPS, jadi lebih mudah gitu. Nah kalau taksi di Jepun tuh mereka tidak menggunakan GPS, kayak apa ya, harus menggunakan tombol apa gitu supaya bisa melacak secara fisik gitu.
And that's how they measure the price.
Jadi
and
lebih sulit
the price
gitu,
is
lebih
different,
enak pakai Grab
price
Malaysia
changes
katanya.
depending
Harganya
on
juga
the
mahal
person, the driver,
gitu.
and it's very expensive, I would say. So after arriving to Malaysia, I started to use the Grab, and I realized how useful it is, and I felt like it's such an easy way to travel from one place to another. And yeah, I'm really glad that I could use this technology, and I'm really hoping that Japan will be
Tapi
able
aku
to
lebih
use
suka pakai
this
go-kart
kind of
daripada
system
Grab, guys.
near in the future.
Uncle Roger said, smack like button now, like how your parents smack you.
So the third thing I want to talk about is the train and the punctuality of the Malaysia. And I heard a lot about like punctuality in Malaysia or South Asian countries. And a lot of people say that like people here are like a little bit lazy, a little bit easygoing, relaxed, and not very punctual. But when I came here, I realized like a lot of things are actually punctual. And when I actually use like MRT station, which is like a train like station. And MRT is very new and it was built like very recently, I assume. And the train is very clean compared to Japanese trains. It's very clean and very fast. And they come like every 5 minutes, and it's very punctual. Like when I see the signboard time schedule, they come at the exact same time. In addition to that, they don't even have a driver. That's a very surprising. That it's not very common in Japan. And when you see the Japanese trains, you can see like some trains are very old, and some trains have like old system. Like some trains are not very like adjusted to like the platform, like they change the trains and platforms, so there's a huge gap between platform and train, and sometimes it's very dangerous. Compared to those, I think like especially MRT is very useful, and I've been using a lot. Yeah, in a nutshell, I was very surprised like how clean the MRT is and how clean the seats are, and punctuality of the MRT station. So I am very glad that I could,
Maksud dia adalah kalau dia perhatikan orang-orang di Asia Tenggara itu lebih santai lah ibaratnya gitu ya. Bukan malas sih jatuhnya, tuh kayak lebih santai. Nah kalau Jepun kita tahu kan, kalau di Jepun itu mereka sangat-sangat menghargai waktu, meskipun itu 1 detik gitu, kayak waktu itu adalah uang gitu, ibaratnya kejar-kejaran dengan waktu. Nah kalau orang-orang di Asia Tenggara nih kayak orang tersantai di dunia gitu nggak sih guys? Kalau aku sih merasa orang Asia Tenggara nih orang yang tersantai di dunia. Maksudnya kayak meskipun dikejar-kejar waktu, tapi mereka tetap santai gitu. Nah kalau orang Jepun tuh kayaknya mereka ngejar waktu, bukan waktu ngejar mereka gitu. Kalau di Asia Tenggara kayaknya waktu ngejar orang Asia Tenggara gitu. Karena ada kan di internet kalau orang Asia Tenggara itu adalah orang tersantai gitu.
Nice. Come here, use
Hidup Asia Tenggara.
MRT.
Hidup.
The fourth thing I have realized about Malaysia is it's very common thing, but food is very good.
He cooked rice
makanan.
in rice cooker.
It was something that I have heard before about Malaysia, and a lot of Japanese people come here because of the food.
Uncle Roger never measure, because Asian people, when we cook, we don't measure, we just use feeling.
There are so many other reasons, but food could be like one of the biggest reasons why Japanese people want to move here in Malaysia. And food is like absolutely great, and I really love like Japanese food here as well. Like usually when I go to abroad, like Japanese restaurants are not very nice like compared to real Japanese restaurants. But when I came here in Malaysia and I have visited some restaurants, like Japanese restaurants, and the tastes are quite nice, and actually it's
kayak
like
rasanya
as tasty
kurang lebih
as
sama
like
dengan yang di
Japanese
Jepun,
ones.
makanan
So
Malaysia yang
I'm very happy about
restoran
it.
Jepun
On
ya
top of
guys.
that, there's so many cheap foods available in Malaysia, and like if you go to like Mama,
Setuju sih,
which is
makanan
like
murah di
a local
Malaysia.
restaurants, and Mama
Porsinya
or
banyak
Chinese
juga.
hawker shops, like outside restaurants, it's very affordable and very cheap. I really love the taste as well, and I think you can charge like 2 or 3 times more in Japan, like if you have that kind of quality of the foods. So for me, I really appreciate the those kind of restaurants that I can enjoy every day, and I can become more and more healthy since I came to Malaysia. I don't usually eat a lot, so being in Malaysia makes me eat, so which is very good for me. I really love food here in Malaysia and local restaurants in Malaysia. I mean every food is very good. So the fifth thing I didn't know about
Terbaik
here in
makanan
Malaysia
Malaysia.
is that the
Bahasa.
necessity of learning Malay. I saw some videos about like Japanese people coming to Malaysia and like live there for a long time, and I have heard a lot of people saying that if you can speak English, they will understand, so you don't really have to worry about like
Oke,
Malay.
betul. Karena
speak
bahasa
Malay.
Inggris
But the
kan bahasa
reality
kedua
is
ibarat di
that I
Malaysia.
kind of had to learn how to speak Malay, just a little bit of like basic phrases for me to be able to order something at the local restaurants or to talk to the guards. So what I have realized was that those people who are saying that English is very common in Malaysia and you can speak English and they will understand,
aku setuju
they meant like people, for those who live in a city or who goes to the big city malls in Malaysia. But if you really want to go deep into the local side, yeah, of course you have to speak Malay. But I feel
betul.
being able to speak Malay is very useful when I go to like local restaurants, especially. And I would just say like na ini satu, na ini dua, or something.
na
You
ini
know,
tiga.
if I could say those things, it's way easier for me to communicate with other people who don't speak English. So that's something I have realized about Malaysia. I really recommend people to learn Malay if you are planning to come to Malaysia. So the next thing I want to talk about is Malaysia being a car society. And it's not very common in Japan, and I have realized so many differences between Japanese car society and Malaysian car society. So to be honest, I feel a little bit dangerous to walk across around like Malaysian roads or like walk around in Malaysia, because cars are usually driving very fast and the cars don't usually wait for pedestrians. So I feel a little bit dangerous, to be honest. And at the same time, what I have realized was like there is no like traffic lights for the pedestrians. So if you want to walk across the road,
Nah, ini mungkin bisa menjadi masukan untuk pemerintah Malaysia gitu.
you kind of have to see
bagi
whether the car is coming or
pejalan
not,
kaki
and
gitu,
you
guys.
have to cross the road very quickly, and you have to wait for the cars to pass by. In Japan, usually cars wait for the pedestrians, and I had an opportunity to drive a car here in Malaysia, and when I was driving, I saw the pedestrians walking, like people walking across the street. So when I saw that, I stepped on the brake, and I was waiting for the people to go across the road. But surprisingly, people were waiting for me to go, which is not very common in Japan. So like I was like, should I go there or not? Like, can I go there, or I was very confused, and I have realized, oh, this is like a very car prioritized society, I would say. That was not something I was used to, and I think I need to be careful when I walk around in Malaysia. So the next thing I want to talk about is big malls in Malaysia, especially in Kuala Lumpur. So there's so many big malls in Malaysia, and I was very, very surprised by it. And they're very clean, and you can see so many variety of food, restaurants, clothes, like shops, movie theaters, karaoke, or bowling arcade, golf simulations, movie theaters, like so many things. There's so many things going on there. I was actually very surprised by how big it is. Like especially I like to go like Pavilion or 1U or like Sunway Velocity or Sunway Lagoon, like those kind of places are very nice to go. I really like the buildings there. And you might be thinking like those malls in the cities are usual in Malaysia, but it's actually not in Japan. So when you go to Japan, malls are actually located around like countryside areas, so that people can drive there and they buy a lot of things and they go back to their home. And usually in Japan, Ion malls are very common, and I haven't really seen other malls, but like Ion malls are very common in Japan and the countryside. If you live in a countryside, you just go to the malls, but if you live in a city, you usually go to like individual buildings or individual shops. That's how you do in Japan usually. I have realized like big malls are very common in Kuala Lumpur, so I really love it. So the eighth thing I want to talk about is the movies, the prices of the movies. And for those of you who are watching this video, thank you very much, and I really appreciate if you hit the like button and subscribe and leave some comments for the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, let's go back to the topic. And the prices of the movies are very cheap here in Malaysia. It's usually about like half or more than half of the price compared to Japan. And one movie is around like 20 ringgit or less than 20 ringgit here in Malaysia.
Oke, kalau 20 ringgit kayak kalau di Indonesia itu kurang lebih apa ya? 100.000 mungkin.
Yeah,
kalau di Indonesia kalau nonton film di bioskop itu cuman paling mahal nih guys, paling mahal banget nonton bioskop di Indonesia itu 35.000, 30 sampai 35.000. Itu paling mahal banget nonton bioskop.
In Japan, you have to pay like
paling
40
murah
to
itu
50 ringgit for like a one movie. So when I graduated high school, I actually stopped going to a movie theater because
sampai 40
once you
ringgit,
graduate high
bestie.
school, you cannot use like student price for the cheaper price, so you have to pay more. So I stopped going to the movie theater. But since I came to Malaysia, movie tickets are cheaper here, so I often go there compared to me being in Japan, and my quality of life has improved because of the enjoyment. Like one of my favorite things to do. So I'm really glad that I could come to Malaysia and enjoy different kinds of movies. So the ninth thing I want to talk about is weather.
Nice.
It's like pretty common topic, I would say, when people come to Malaysia, and I think like the weather is hot, like as other people say, and there are 3 seasons. Like as many people explain in Malaysia, and one season is hot season, the second season is very hot, like deadly hot season, and the third one is rainy season.
Musim hujan, musim panas, sangat
makes
panas.
me surprised about
Sekarang masuk musim hujan nih.
here in Malaysia is like the rain is very heavy sometimes, and the thunderstorm, like thunders are very loud, like very near. I mean, I'm not sure, like I think my place has a problem or something, but like my place used to have like big thunders like striking nearby me, and I was very surprised by the sound of the thunder. But fortunately there's no like blackout is not very common in Malaysia. Compared to Japan, it's much safer when it comes to like thunder, I would say. So yeah, I'm very fine with it. So the last thing I want to talk about is the comfortable residence in Malaysia. It's actually affordable to live in Malaysia, and the price of the rent is way cheaper than Japan. And if you live in a Japanese,
mungkin karena biaya hidupnya juga beda gitu. Di Jepang biaya hidupnya mungkin lebih mahal dibanding di Malaysia gitu, makanya tempat tinggal kayak apartemen, kayak sewa rumah dan sebagainya itu jauh lebih murah gitu dibanding Jepang. Nah, biaya kebutuhan hidupnya mungkin lebih mahal di Jepang gitu.
You have to pay like $500 or $600 to live in a just like small apartment where you can hear a lot of the sound or noise from the neighbors. And compared to that, Malaysian like residences like apartment or like a condos, I live in a condos where it has like a gym, pool, tennis courts, basketball courts, and etc. And it's very convenient for me to go to like restaurants or grocery stores, and it's like I think it's the most like convenient place I have ever lived in my life. So I'm very glad to live there, and the price is actually not that crazy, I would say. If you want to live in these kind of places in Japan, you actually have to pay for like 3 or 4 times more than the price that
3 sampai 4 kali lipat kalau kalian menyewa apartemen atau kondominium yang ada di Jepun gitu guys. Wih, mahal banget ya.
I'm paying, so it's very nice. When I lived in Tokyo, I felt very depressed about how small the apartment was, and you know, but yeah,
udah mahal kecil katanya tempatnya. Tidak bang, tinggal di Malaysia aja bang.
Japanese people, I would say. So in conclusion, those are the culture shocks that I have had here in Malaysia, or like the things I have surprised or realized about being here in Malaysia. And for those of you who want to learn Japanese with me, you can learn Japanese online. Please check the link in the description below.
Oke, yang mau belajar bahasa Jepang lah, silakan kunjungi channel dia.
And people here are very nice, and I really enjoy living here, and it's very comfortable for me. And I'm really glad choosing Malaysia to study. I actually came here to study.
Guys.
I can talk about that for another video maybe. And yeah, hope you like this video. Okay, Bye.
Jadi ada 10 hal yang membuat dia merasa sedikit terkejut karena berbeda dengan kehidupan dia yang ada di Jepang, terutama soal teknologi, terus soal rakyat di Malaysia yang lebih sedikit santai dibanding dengan Jepun, jalanan atau lalu lintas, soal tempat tinggal, soal bahasa, dan masih banyak lagi yang membuat dia sedikit terkejut. Cuman dia membiasakan diri dia karena dia sekarang belajar di Malaysia. Kayaknya yang dia bilang tadi, dia adalah seorang pelajar dan dia nyaman banget tinggal di Malaysia karena beberapa hal yang membuat dia merasa nyaman tinggal di Malaysia. Bukan berarti dia tidak nyaman tinggal di Jepang, tapi dia merasa jauh lebih nyaman. Semoga video ini bisa memberikan sharing juga kepada teman-teman yang mungkin ingin tinggal di Malaysia atau belajar atau studi ke Malaysia. Hal ini bisa teman-teman pelajari pada video dari Bang Sojep, itu namanya kayak. Yaudah, kayak cukup sekian video reaction kali ini. Semoga memberikan informasi bagi teman-teman semua. Bagi teman-teman yang suka sama video ini, jangan lupa untuk like, comment, dan subscribe. Dan kita ketemu di next video. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum.